You have betrayed me. The words fell from the Duke of Ashworth's lips like ice water, and Lady Eleanor Godwin felt her entire world tilt sideways. She stood in the grand drawing room of Ashworth House, her hands trembling at her sides, the weight of his accusation pressing against her chest like a physical force. She had arrived, expecting a proposal. She had arrived wearing her finest gown of pale blue silk, her dark hair pinned with pearls, her heart beating with nervous anticipation. She had spent 3 months accepting his courtship, 3 months falling in love with the stern, honorable, impossibly handsome Duke of Ashworth, and now he stood before her, his jaw tight, his blue eyes burning with fury, and he looked at her as though she were a stranger. "Your Grace," she managed, her voice barely a whisper, "I do not understand. Do not pretend innocence with me, Eleanor." He stepped closer, and she flinched at the anger radiating from him. "I know what you have done. I know about the letters. I know about the arrangement you made with my brother." Her breath caught. "Your brother? I have never— Do not lie to me." His voice cracked like a whip, and she felt tears sting her eyes. "William confessed everything before he fled to the continent. Your secret meetings, your promises, your betrayal." "I have never met your brother," she said, her voice shaking. "I have never exchanged a single word with William Thorne. I do not know what he told you, but it cannot be true." The Duke laughed, a cold, bitter sound that cut through her like glass. "And yet you expect me to believe you, when I have held the proof in my own hands, when I found my brother's letters to you hidden in his room?" "There are no letters." She stepped forward, reaching for his arm. "Your Grace, I swear upon my mother's grave." "Your mother's grave," he repeated, his voice dripping with contempt. "The same mother who raised you to be a fortune hunter, I presume. The same mother who taught you to ensnare a duke, and then sell his secrets to his rivals?" Eleanor recoiled, as if he had struck her. "How dare you speak of my mother that way? How dare you? How dare I?" He closed the distance between them, his tall frame looming over her. "How dare I protect my family's name? How dare I refuse to be made a fool of, by a woman I was fool enough to trust?" The tears she had been fighting spilled down her cheeks. "I have loved you," she said, her voice breaking. "I have loved you since the first moment we met. I would never—" "You would never?" He grabbed her wrist, his grip bruising. "Then explain to me why my brother knew every detail of my business dealings with the East India Company. Explain to me why our competitors seemed to know my every move before I made it. Explain to me why William's mistress wore emeralds that could only have come from the family vault." Eleanor shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "I do not know. I do not know anything about your brother or his mistress. I have been faithful to you. I have been honest with you. And yet my brother's letters say otherwise." He released her wrist, stepping back, as if her touch burned him. "He described you in detail, Eleanor. The birthmark on your shoulder, the way you laugh, the scent of roses in your hair. How could he know those things, unless he had been close to you?" She opened her mouth to respond, but no words came. Because she did not know. She did not understand. She had never so much as laid eyes on William Thorne, the Duke's younger brother, the black sheep of the family, who had been banished to the continent years ago. "I see you have no defense," the Duke said coldly. "I expected as much." "Please," she whispered. "Please let me explain. I do not know how your brother knew those things about me. Perhaps he saw us together. Perhaps someone told him." "I do not wish to hear your excuses, Lady Eleanor." He turned away from her, walking toward the window. "I called you here today, with the intention of offering you my hand in marriage. Instead, I find myself ending our association entirely." Her heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. "Ending our association?" "You will leave Ashworth House immediately," he said, his back still turned to her. "You will return to your family's home, and you will never speak to me again. I will ensure that your reputation remains intact, but only because I am not a cruel man. I will tell no one the true reason for our separation." "My reputation?" She laughed, a broken, desperate sound. "My reputation will be destroyed when it becomes known that the Duke of Ashworth jilted me for no apparent reason. Everyone will assume." "They will assume what they wish," he interrupted. "That is no longer my concern. She watched his rigid back, his broad shoulders, the way his dark hair curled at the nape of his neck. She had loved him. She still loved him. But the man standing before her now was a stranger, a man who had already judged her and found her guilty. "I will not leave," she said, her voice surprisingly steady. "I have done nothing wrong. I will not allow you to throw me out like a common thief, not until you tell me the truth about these letters." He turned to face her, his expression unreadable. "The truth, Lady Eleanor, the truth is that my brother destroyed his letters before he fled. He admitted everything to me in person, and then he vanished. I have no proof to show you because he ensured there would be none." "Then why did he confess to you?" she demanded. "If he truly meant to betray you, why would he confess and then flee?" The Duke was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was strangely subdued. "He said he loved you. He said he could not bear to see me marry you, while he carried the weight of his guilt. He said he was leaving England to spare himself the pain of seeing you become my wife." Eleanor felt her legs give way. She sank onto the nearest chair, her hands gripping the arms so tightly her knuckles went white. "That makes no sense," she whispered. "I do not know your brother. I have never—" "Perhaps he knew you without your knowledge," the Duke said, his voice suddenly uncertain. "Perhaps he saw you from afar, and became obsessed. That would explain how he knew such intimate details about you." "If that were true," she said slowly, "then he would have been watching me for months. He would have followed me. He would have learned my habits, my mannerisms, my—" She stopped, a cold dread washing over her. "Oh God. What is it?" She looked up at him, her eyes wide with sudden horror. "The man in the park. The man who watched me every Tuesday when I walked with my mother. I always assumed he was a stranger, a harmless admirer, but—" The Duke's face went pale. "What man in the park?" "A tall man," she said, her voice trembling. "Dark hair, like yours. He always wore a grey coat, and a hat pulled low. I never saw his face clearly, but I felt his eyes on me. I told my mother about it once, and she said I was imagining things. And this man never approached you?" "No, he only watched. I thought nothing of it after a while." She pressed a hand to her chest, her heart racing. "Your brother. It must have been your brother." The Duke turned away from her, his hands curling into fists at his sides. 3 months. For 3 months my brother was in England without my knowledge. For 3 months he was watching you, studying you, learning every detail of your life. And I never knew. "He was stalking me," Eleanor said, the full horror of the situation dawning on her. "He knew I had feelings for you. He must have seen us together. He wanted to destroy what we had," the Duke finished, his voice hollow. "He wanted to drive us apart. That was his revenge, Eleanor. He confessed to a crime he knew I would believe because I could not imagine he would lie about such a thing. And then he fled, knowing that I would never be able to prove the truth one way or the other." Eleanor rose from her chair, walking toward him. "But we know the truth now. We know that he fabricated everything. Surely you see that." "See what?" He turned to face her, and she was shocked by the pain in his eyes. "That my brother has won? That he has succeeded in destroying everything I hoped to build with you? He does not need to be here to see the damage he has caused. He knows what he has done. Then we will prove his lies," she said, reaching for his hand. "We will find evidence. We will write to the continent and demand answers. It is too late for that." He pulled his hand away from hers, his expression hardening. "The damage has been done. My trust in you has been shattered, Eleanor. Even if William fabricated everything, I cannot simply pretend that I did not doubt you. I cannot simply move on as if nothing happened." She stared at him, her heart breaking all over again. "You do not believe me. Even now, you still do not believe me." "I believe that my brother planned this," he said carefully. "I believe that he engineered an elaborate scheme to destroy my happiness. But I also know that he could not have known such intimate details about you unless he had seen you, unless he had observed you in ways that should have been impossible." "Are you accusing me of allowing him to observe me?" Her voice rose. "Are you suggesting that I am suggesting nothing," he interrupted. "I am simply stating the facts as I know them. William knew details about you that he should not have known. He described them in his confession with such accuracy that I could not help but believe him. and now I find myself wondering, if he did not have the opportunity to observe you directly, then who told him? Eleanor felt the blood drain from her face. You think I told him? You think I was somehow in league with him? I think I do not know what to think, he admitted, his voice raw. I think my brother has poisoned my mind against you, and I do not know how to rid myself of this doubt. I think I need time. I need distance. I need to end things, she finished flatly. That is what you need. You need to end things with me, because it is easier than facing the possibility that you were wrong. The Duke flinched, as if she had struck him. That is not fair. No, it is not, she agreed. But neither is this. Neither is your brother's manipulation. Neither is your refusal to trust me. She gathered her skirts, walking toward the door. I will leave, as you requested. I will return to my family's home, and wait for you to come to your senses, if you ever do. She paused at the door, turning to look at him one last time. I loved you, Your Grace. I truly loved you, and I would never have betrayed you, not for anything, not for anyone. And then she walked out of the room, out of Ashworth House, and out of his life. Or so she thought. 3 months earlier, Lady Eleanor Godwin had been a different woman. She had been a woman of hope, of optimism, of dreams that stretched as far as the blue summer sky above her family's estate in Kent. At 22 years old, she had accepted her fate as a daughter of the gentry, a fate that had been largely determined for her by her mother's death and her father's debts. Lord Godwin was a kind man, but a poor manager of his finances. He had inherited an estate that was already crumbling, and had spent his years trying to hold it together, with sheer will and blind optimism. By the time Eleanor reached marriageable age, the family's prospects were bleak. Her dowry was modest at best, and her father's connections were limited. But Eleanor had never been one to give in to despair. She had inherited her mother's determination and her father's gentle heart. She had a sharp mind hidden behind a soft smile, and a deep reserve of strength that no one expected from a woman of her delicate appearance. She had managed her father's household since she was 18. She had tutored her younger siblings in their lessons, and she had kept the estate's books despite having no formal education in such matters. And then, in the autumn of 1816, everything had changed. She had met the Duke of Ashworth at a country house party hosted by Lord and Lady Harrington. He had been aloof, intimidating, and impossibly handsome. His dark hair had been swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble, and his blue eyes had been sharp and watchful. She had not expected to attract his attention. She was not the most beautiful woman in the room, nor the most fashionable, nor the most accomplished. She had a talent for playing the pianoforte and a gift for conversation, but there were dozens of other women with far more to offer a man of his station. And yet, he had sought her out. He had asked her to dance when others had assumed he would not dance at all. He had walked with her through the gardens when others had assumed he would prefer the company of his fellow aristocrats. He had talked to her late into the night when others had assumed he would be bored by a woman of such modest background. He had courted her with a seriousness that had taken her breath away. I have never met anyone like you, he had told her one evening, his voice low and intense. You are not like the other women I have known. You do not simper. You do not preen. You look at me as though I am a man, not a title. Because that is what you are to me, she had replied, her heart racing. A man, a good man, a man who has shown me kindness when he could have shown me contempt. I would never show you contempt, he had said, taking her hand. I would show you everything. I would give you everything. Eleanor, I think I am falling in love with you. That was the moment she had allowed herself to dream. She had dreamed of marriage. She had dreamed of children. She had dreamed of Ashworth House, of the grand estate that would become her home. She had dreamed of the Duke himself, of his strong arms around her, of his deep voice whispering promises of forever. Now all those dreams had turned to ash. The Duke of Ashworth, Michael Thorne, was a man who had been shaped by secrets and shadows. He had inherited his title at the age of 24, when his father had died suddenly of a stroke. The old Duke had been a cold, calculating man, who had ruled his family with an iron fist. He had raised his 2 sons with strict expectations, and had shown them little affection. Michael had been the obedient son, the one who had tried to please his father, who had followed every rule, who had done everything he was supposed to do. He had managed the estate with precision, he had navigated the treacherous waters of London society with skill, and he had maintained the family's reputation with an iron will. William had been the rebellious son, the one who had defied their father at every turn, who had squandered his allowance on gambling and women, who had been banished to the continent after a scandal that had nearly destroyed the family's name. Peter, the youngest, had been the forgotten son, sent north to manage the family's Scottish holdings. He had been too young to inherit, too unimportant to cause trouble, and he had been content to remain in the shadows. Their father had died hating William, and Michael had been left to pick up the pieces. For 5 years, Michael had managed the estate alone. He had grown the family's holdings, he had expanded their business interests, he had made Ashworth House one of the most powerful dukedoms in England. He had built everything through hard work, determination, and an unwavering commitment to duty. And then William had returned. It had been a quiet return, one that Michael had not even known about until it was too late. William had slipped into England without his brother's knowledge, had stayed in the shadows, had watched and waited. And then he had destroyed everything. Michael had not wanted to believe Eleanor capable of betrayal. He had loved her with a depth that had surprised him, had trusted her with secrets he had never shared with anyone else. She had been his hope, his future, his chance at happiness. But his brother's confession had been too detailed to dismiss. William had described Eleanor's laugh, the way her eyes sparkled when she was amused, the small birthmark on her left shoulder. He had known her scent, the way she moved, the tilt of her head when she was thinking. How could he have known those things, unless he had seen her? Unless she had allowed him to see her? Michael had tried to convince himself that William was lying. He had tried to find a reasonable explanation for his brother's knowledge. But the more he thought about it, the more he realized that William could not have observed Eleanor from afar and learned such intimate details, which meant she had allowed him to get close, which meant she had been hiding something. And now, as he stood in his empty drawing room, watching the door where she had just disappeared, he felt a hollow ache in his chest that he could not explain. He had been a fool to love her, but he had been an even bigger fool to let her go. Eleanor returned to her family's estate in a daze. Her father met her at the door, his face lined with worry. He had known she was going to meet the Duke that day. He had known she was expecting a proposal. He had been preparing to celebrate his daughter's engagement. "Eleanor?" he asked, taking her arm. "What happened? Did he?" "He did not propose," she said, her voice flat. "He accused me of betraying him. He said his brother confessed to an affair with me." Lord Godwin's face went pale. His brother? The one who was banished? "Yes, father, William Thorne." She allowed herself to be led into the drawing room, sinking onto the nearest chair. "He fabricated everything. He told the Duke that I had been meeting with him secretly, that I had been sharing information with him, that I had been unfaithful." "But that is absurd. You have never even met the man." "I know, but the Duke does not believe me." She pressed her hands to her face, trying to hold back the tears. "He said he needed time and distance. He said he could not trust me." Lord Godwin sat beside her, taking her hand. "My dear, I am so sorry. I know how much you cared for him." "I loved him, father." The tears spilled free. "I loved him more than I have ever loved anyone, and now he thinks I am a traitor." "Perhaps he will come to his senses," Lord Godwin offered. "Perhaps he will realize that his brother was lying." Perhaps. But Eleanor did not believe it. She had seen the doubt in Michael's eyes, the uncertainty that had clouded his judgment. His brother had poisoned his mind, and she did not know if she would ever be able to clear the rot. She spent the next week in a fog of misery. She barely ate. She barely slept. She spent her days staring out the window, replaying every moment of her final conversation with Michael, trying to find some way to make him understand. But there was no understanding. There was only doubt. And then, on a cold November morning, everything changed. The letter arrived on a tray with the morning post. Eleanor was in the breakfast room, staring blankly at a plate of toast she had no intention of eating. The butler brought the tray to her, and she glanced at the stack of letters without interest. But one letter caught her eye. The handwriting was unfamiliar, a bold, masculine script that she had never seen before. The seal was a simple wax crest, unmarked and unidentifiable. She opened it with trembling fingers, scanning the contents quickly. Dear Lady Eleanor, I know what my brother has done. I know the lies he has told, the destruction he has wrought. I come to you now with the truth, and with a proposition. I am Peter Thorne, the youngest brother of Michael and William. I have been in Scotland for the past 3 years, managing the family's northern holdings. I was not aware of my brother's actions until I returned to England last week and discovered the chaos he had left in his wake. I am not like my brother. I do not deal in lies and deception. I am a man of honor, and I have a plan to expose William's treachery, but I cannot do it alone. I need your help. Please meet me at the inn in the village of Thorne tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock. I will explain everything there. Yours in hopes of justice, Peter Thorne. Eleanor stared at the letter, her heart pounding. Another Thorne brother, another man who had appeared out of nowhere to complicate her life. But this one claimed to be different. This one claimed to want justice. She read the letter again, looking for signs of deception. She had been burned once already. She would not be burned again. But something about the letter struck her as genuine. The tone was earnest, almost desperate. The man who had written it seemed to genuinely want to help her. And if there was even a chance that Peter Thorne could help her prove William's lies, she had to take it. She had to find a way to clear her name. She had to find a way to make Michael believe her. She had to find a way to save the love she had lost. The village of Thorne was a small, sleepy hamlet, nestled in the rolling hills of Kent. The inn was a modest establishment, more suited to traveling merchants than to aristocrats, but Eleanor did not care about appearances. She arrived at exactly 3 o'clock, wrapped in a heavy cloak to ward off the November chill. She had told her father she was going to visit a friend, a harmless lie that she hoped he would never discover. The innkeeper directed her to a private parlor, and she found herself standing before a closed door, her heart racing. She knocked. The door opened, and she found herself looking into the face of a stranger. Peter Thorne was nothing like his brothers. Where Michael was dark-haired and intense, Peter was fair-haired and gentle. His eyes were a warm hazel, and his face was open and honest. He was handsome in a different way, a softer way, a way that made her immediately feel at ease. Lady Eleanor, he said, bowing. Thank you for coming. I know this must seem strange, but I promise you, I have good reason for asking you here. Your letter was unexpected, she said carefully. I confess I did not even know you existed until yesterday. Peter smiled ruefully. Most people do not. I am the forgotten Thorne, the one who was sent to the north to manage the family's business and never heard from again. It suits me, actually. I prefer the quiet life. But you came back, Eleanor said. You came back because of William. Because of what William has done, Peter corrected. I came back because I could not stand by and watch him destroy another person's life. He has already caused enough damage. She studied him, searching for any sign of deception. And what exactly did William do? Peter gestured to a chair. Please, sit down. This is a long story, and you will need to be comfortable. She sat, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She was nervous, but she was also desperate. If Peter Thorne could help her, she would listen to anything he had to say. William is a snake, Peter began bluntly. He always has been. When we were children, he would lie and manipulate to get what he wanted. He would blame Michael for things he had done, and Michael would always take the punishment. It was easier than fighting. I did not know Michael had another brother, Eleanor admitted. He never mentioned you. I am not surprised. Michael and I were never close. He was the heir, I was the spare. We had different paths in life. Peter's expression turned bitter. William was the middle son, the one who was never expected to inherit anything, and he used that freedom to become exactly what he is now, a destroyer of lives. Your letter said you have a plan, Eleanor prompted. A plan to expose his lies. Peter nodded. I have been investigating William's activities for weeks now. I knew he had returned to England, and I suspected he was up to something. I just did not realize how far he was willing to go. What did you find? William has been following you since the summer, Peter said. He has been watching your movements, your habits. He has been paying servants for information about you. He even hired a former employee of the Ashworth household to provide him with details about Michael's business dealings. Eleanor felt sick. He was planning this. All of it. Yes, he wanted to destroy Michael's happiness. He has always resented his brother for being the heir, for having the power and the position that William was never given. And when he saw that Michael was falling in love with you, he saw an opportunity for the perfect revenge. But why me? Eleanor asked. Why not just attack Michael directly? Because that would have been too obvious, Peter explained. William knew that Michael would never listen to direct accusations about his brother. But if he could make Michael believe that the woman he loved was betraying him, that the woman he trusted was sharing his secrets with the person who hated him most, that would destroy Michael in a way nothing else could. Eleanor pressed a hand to her mouth. He wanted to break Michael's heart. He wanted to make Michael feel the same pain William has felt his entire life, Peter corrected. He wanted to make him suffer, and he succeeded. But we can stop him, Eleanor said, her voice fierce. We can expose the truth. We can make Michael see what William has done. Peter hesitated. I have been gathering evidence, but William has been careful. He has covered his tracks. Most of the people he paid are too afraid to speak out against him. Then what do we do? Peter leaned forward, his eyes intense. We make him slip. We give him the opportunity to make a mistake, and then we catch him in the act. The plan Peter Thorne proposed was audacious, dangerous, and very likely to fail. But Eleanor had nothing left to lose. She had spent the past week in a fog of misery, mourning the loss of a love she had thought was forever. She had cried herself to sleep, had barely eaten, had drifted through her days like a ghost. But now she had purpose. Now she had hope. She met with Peter twice more in the following week, each time in the same inn in Thorne. The innkeeper had grown accustomed to her visits, and he asked no questions. He has a contact, Peter explained, during their second meeting. A man who works in Michael's household. I bribed him to confirm what I already suspected. William has been paying him for information about Michael's plans. How did William know about the letters? Eleanor asked. How did he know that Michael was planning to propose? One of Michael's closest friends let it slip at a card game, Peter said. William was in the room, disguised as a merchant. He overheard everything. Eleanor shuddered. He is obsessed. He has been planning this for months. He has been planning it for years, Peter corrected. This is just the culmination of a lifetime of resentment. Then we need to stop him, Eleanor said firmly. We need to expose him for what he is. Peter nodded. I have an idea, but you are not going to like it. The idea was simple in concept, and terrifying in execution. They would create a trap. Peter would send a letter to William, claiming to have found a new source of information about Michael's activities. He would invite William to meet him at a public house in London, pretending to be a willing accomplice in his schemes. Eleanor would be there as well, disguised as a servant. She would witness the exchange, would hear William admit to his lies, and then she and Peter would confront him together. But Peter had learned from his past mistakes. He had arranged for 2 trusted witnesses to be positioned in the room behind a thin wooden partition. One was the innkeeper, a man known for his honesty. The other was a solicitor, a man of impeccable reputation. If we can get him to confess in front of these witnesses, Peter said, we will have all the proof we need. The solicitor will prepare a sworn statement. Michael will have to believe us. What if he does not confess? Eleanor asked. Then we are no worse off than we are now, Peter admitted. But William is arrogant. He believes he is untouchable. He may not be as careful as he should be. Eleanor considered the plan, weighing the risks and rewards. It was dangerous. If William discovered their deception, he could retaliate. He could destroy her reputation completely. But the alternative, living the rest of her life in the shadow of his lies, was even worse. I will do it, she said finally. I will help you trap him. The public house was a smoky, crowded establishment on the outskirts of London. It was the kind of place where men went to conduct business, that could not be done in broad daylight. Eleanor arrived in a plain brown dress, her hair covered with a cap. She was supposed to be a serving girl, and she carried a tray of empty glasses to complete the disguise. Peter had secured a private booth in the back of the room, away from the prying eyes of the other patrons. The partition behind them was thin, and Peter had made sure his witnesses were in position. William was already there when Eleanor arrived, sitting across from Peter with a smile of smug satisfaction on his face. He was taller than she had expected, with dark hair and sharp features that made him look dangerous. His eyes were cold, calculating, and she knew immediately that he was the kind of man who would stop at nothing to get what he wanted. "I am glad you decided to meet with me," William was saying as Eleanor approached with a tray of ale. "I was beginning to think you would not come." "I had to be sure you were serious," Peter replied, his voice carefully neutral. "I have heard many things about you, William. I needed to see for myself what kind of man you really are." William laughed. "I am exactly the kind of man you think I am. I am a man who has been wronged by his family, and I have decided to take what is rightfully mine." "Your brother's happiness," Peter said. "You wanted to take that from him." "My brother's happiness," William repeated, his voice dripping with contempt. "Michael has had everything. The title, the estate, the respect, and I have had nothing. I was cast out like a dog, forced to live on the continent with nothing but the clothes on my back, and my brother did nothing to help me." "Because you had done terrible things," Peter pointed out. "You had gambled away the family's fortune. You had destroyed a young woman's reputation." "Those were small sins, compared to what Michael did to me," William said, his voice rising. "He was supposed to protect me. He was supposed to be my brother. Instead, he abandoned me. He left me to rot. And so you decided to destroy him," Peter said. "You decided to make him suffer the way you had suffered." William smiled again, that cold, dangerous smile. "I decided to take from him the one thing he truly cared about. The woman he loved. I knew that if I could make him believe she was betraying him, it would destroy him. And it worked, did it not? He accused her of treachery. He sent her away, and now he is alone and miserable, just like me." Eleanor felt her hands trembling on the tray. She wanted to scream at him, to tell him what a monster he was, but she forced herself to stay silent. "Do you not have any pity for the woman you have harmed?" Peter asked. "She did nothing to you. She was innocent." "I care nothing about her," William said dismissively. "She was simply a tool, a means to an end. Michael loved her, and I wanted to destroy that love. It was as simple as that." "But you claim to have had an affair with her," Peter pressed. "You told Michael that she had been meeting with you in secret. You made him believe that she had betrayed him." "Of course I did," William said, laughing. "It was the only way to make him truly believe. I knew Michael. I knew he would never trust her again if he believed she had been sharing his secrets with me. And I was right." He threw her out without a second thought. "And you have no regrets?" Peter asked. "No conscience?" William leaned forward, his eyes gleaming. "I have no regrets. I have no conscience. I have only satisfaction. I have finally beaten my brother. I have finally made him pay for everything he has done to me, and that is worth more to me than anything else in the world." Eleanor could not stay silent any longer. "You are a monster," she said, her voice cutting through the smoke-filled air. William's head snapped toward her. His eyes widened in recognition, and his face went pale. "You," he breathed. "What are you doing here?" "Proving that you are a liar," Eleanor said, stepping forward. "Proving that everything you told Michael was a fabrication." William turned to Peter, his expression murderous. "You set me up. You brought her here to trap me." "I brought her here to hear the truth," Peter said calmly. "And you have given it to her. You confessed to everything. Your stalking, your lies, your plan to destroy Michael's happiness. And we have witnesses." "Witnesses?" William looked around, confused. "What witnesses?" Peter gestured toward the partition. Two men stepped out from behind it. One was the innkeeper. The other was a solemn-looking man in a dark coat who held a leather-bound book and a pen. "This is Mr. Stanton, a solicitor," Peter said. "He has taken careful notes of everything you have said, and the innkeeper has been listening from the next room. You have confessed to fraud, slander, and conspiracy." William's face contorted with rage. You think that will be enough? You think anyone will believe a word that comes from your mouth? I am the brother of a duke. You are nothing. She is nothing. She is the woman who was nearly destroyed by your lies, Peter said. And she is the woman who will testify against you in front of everyone. Michael will hear the truth. The whole world will hear the truth. William laughed, but there was a desperate edge to it. You are making a mistake. If you expose me, I will destroy you. I will ruin her reputation. I will make sure that everyone in London knows that she was involved with me. No one will believe you, Eleanor said, her voice steady. They will see that you are a liar, that you have been lying all along, and Michael will finally know the truth. William's eyes flashed with fury. He lunged toward her, but Peter was faster. He stepped between them, his hand on William's chest. Touch her, Peter said quietly, and I will make sure you spend the rest of your life in prison. William stared at him, his face twisted with hatred. You have no idea what you have done. This is not over. I will make you both pay for this. And then he turned and fled. The aftermath of the confrontation was a blur. Peter took Eleanor to safety, to a quiet inn where they could recover from the ordeal. She was shaking, her hands trembling, her heart pounding in her chest. Are you all right? Peter asked, concern in his eyes. Did he hurt you? I am fine, she said, though her voice was shaky. I cannot believe we actually did that. We did what needed to be done, Peter said. And now we have the proof we need. The solicitor has his notes. He will prepare a sworn statement. But will Michael believe us? Eleanor asked. He did not believe me before. He trusted his brother's lies over my truth. He will believe this time, Peter said firmly. Because this time, we have evidence. We have witnesses. And we have William's own confession. Eleanor nodded, but she could not shake the feeling of dread that had settled in her chest. William had promised to make them pay. He was dangerous, obsessive, and he had nothing left to lose. She prayed that Peter's plan would succeed. She prayed that Michael would finally see the truth, and she prayed that it was not too late to save the love she had lost. The journey back to Kent was long and grueling. Eleanor spent most of it staring out the window of the carriage, her mind racing with everything that had happened. She had confronted William. She had heard him confess to his lies. She had the proof she needed. But she was still terrified. What if Michael refused to believe her? What if William found a way to destroy her reputation before she could tell her story? What if the solicitor's testimony was not enough? What is worrying you? Peter asked from across the carriage. We have won. We have the evidence we need. William promised he would make us pay, Eleanor said quietly. He is not the kind of man who gives up easily. Let him try, Peter said, his voice grim. He will find that I am not as easy to defeat as he thinks. Eleanor looked at him, studying his face. In the weeks since they had met, she had come to trust Peter Thorne. He was kind, honorable, and genuinely committed to helping her. But she could not shake the feeling that there was something he was not telling her. Peter, she said carefully, is there anything else I should know? Anything about William that you have not told me? Peter hesitated. I do not know what you mean. You have been avoiding my questions about your past, Eleanor pressed. You have told me about William's schemes, but you have not told me why you were sent to Scotland. You have not told me why you disappeared from London society. I told you, Peter said carefully. I was sent to manage the family's northern holdings. It was a simple business arrangement. That is not the whole truth, Eleanor said. I can tell. Peter was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was strained. You are right. There is more to the story, but I am not sure you are ready to hear it. Try me. Peter took a deep breath. I was sent to Scotland because of William, he admitted. Because I was the one who discovered his schemes in the first place. I found evidence of his gambling debts, his ruined women, his many sins, and when I threatened to expose him, he made sure I was sent away. You were banished for threatening to expose him. Not exactly. Peter's expression was troubled. William told our father that I was the one responsible for the scandals. He said I had been gambling, had been ruining women, had been destroying the family's name. He made sure I was the one who was punished. And your father believed him. My father believed whatever William told him, Peter said bitterly. William was the favorite. He could do no wrong. And I was the youngest, the one who was never expected to be anything. It was easier for my father to believe the worst of me than to believe the truth about his favorite son. Eleanor felt a surge of sympathy for him. That is terrible. That is so unfair. Unfair is a word I have become very familiar with, Peter said. But I have learned to accept it. I have built a new life for myself in Scotland. I have made peace with my past. Until William returned, Eleanor said. Until he started causing trouble again. Yes, Peter's jaw tightened. I could not let him destroy another person's life. I could not stand by and watch him hurt someone else. That is why I came back. That is why I helped you. Thank you, Eleanor said softly. I do not know what I would have done without you. Peter met her eyes, and for a moment there was something there. Something that made her heart skip a beat. But then it was gone, replaced by his usual calm expression. We will get through this, he said firmly. We will expose William, and we will make things right. They arrived at the Godwin estate late in the evening. Eleanor was exhausted, emotionally drained, and desperately in need of a warm bath and a soft bed. But there was a letter waiting for her when she arrived, a letter that would change everything. She recognized the handwriting immediately. It was from Michael. She opened it with trembling fingers, reading the words quickly. Her heart raced as she took in the contents. Dear Eleanor, I have done a terrible thing. I have wronged you in the worst possible way, and I do not know if I can ever make it right. But I need to see you. I need to explain. I need to tell you the truth. Please meet me at Ashworth House tomorrow afternoon. I will be waiting for you. Yours in desperate hope, Michael. Eleanor read the letter 3 times, her hands shaking. After everything that had happened, after everything she had been through, Michael was finally reaching out to her. But why now? What had changed? Peter, she called, running to find him. Peter, look at this. He read the letter quickly, his expression unreadable. He wants to see you. That is good. That means he is finally ready to listen. But why now? Eleanor asked. What made him change his mind? I cannot say for certain, Peter admitted. But if I had to guess, I would say that William has been acting strangely. Perhaps Michael has begun to suspect the truth. Eleanor felt a flicker of hope. Then I will go. I will meet him tomorrow. I am not sure that is wise, Peter said carefully. We have no idea what William has been doing in the meantime. He could be planning something. I have to take the risk, Eleanor said. This could be my only chance to make things right. Peter studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Very well. But I will be nearby. If anything goes wrong, I will be there to help. The next afternoon, Eleanor arrived at Ashworth House for the second time. The grand building looked the same as it had on the day she had been accused of betrayal, but everything felt different. She was not the same woman who had walked through those doors, full of hope and anticipation. She was a woman who had been through fire, a woman who had survived. The Duke was waiting for her in the drawing room, the same room where he had accused her of treachery. He was standing by the window, his back to her, his shoulders tense. She hesitated at the door, her heart pounding. Your Grace. He turned, and she was shocked by what she saw. Michael looked terrible. His eyes were red-rimmed, his face pale, his clothes rumpled as if he had not slept or changed in days. Eleanor, he said, his voice cracking. Thank you for coming. I received your letter, she said carefully. You said you wanted to see me. I needed to see you. He stepped toward her, his expression desperate. I needed to tell you the truth. I needed to apologize. Apologize for what? She asked, though she already knew. Apologize for everything, he said. For accusing you without proof, for believing my brother's lies, for throwing you out of my home, for destroying everything we had together. Eleanor felt tears pricking at her eyes. Why now? Why have you changed your mind? Michael looked away, his jaw tight. Because William came to me yesterday, he admitted. He was angry, furious, raving about something that had happened the day before. He threatened to ruin you. He said he would destroy your reputation if you tried to expose him. He admitted it? Eleanor asked, her heart racing. He admitted what he had done? He did not say it directly, Michael said, but he did not have to. I could see it in his eyes. I could hear it in his voice. He had been lying to me all along. He had manipulated me. He had destroyed the best thing that had ever happened to me. Eleanor stepped forward, reaching for his hand. Michael, I have proof. I have witnesses. Peter and I know, he interrupted. Peter came to see me this morning. He told me everything. The trap, the confession, the solicitor's notes. He showed me evidence of William's schemes, documents that proved he had been lying for years. Peter was here? Eleanor asked, surprised. He did not tell me he was coming. He wanted to make sure I heard the truth, Michael said. He wanted to make sure I knew what a fool I had been. Eleanor squeezed his hand. You were not a fool. You were manipulated by someone you trusted. Someone who should have loved you. Michael looked at her, his eyes full of pain. I was a fool, he insisted. I should have trusted you. I should have known that you would never betray me, but I let my brother poison my mind. I let doubt destroy everything we had. But we can rebuild, Eleanor said softly. We can find our way back to each other. Is that possible? Michael asked, his voice barely a whisper. After everything I have done? It is possible, Eleanor said, if we are both willing to try. Michael pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly. I am willing, he said. I am so willing. I will spend the rest of my life making this up to you. And for a moment, Eleanor allowed herself to believe that everything would be all right. But then the door burst open, and everything changed again. William Thorne stood in the doorway, his face twisted with rage. You think you have won, he said, his voice dripping with venom. You think you have defeated me, but you are wrong. You are so wrong. Michael stepped in front of Eleanor, shielding her from his brother. William, leave now. You are not welcome here. I am not leaving, William said, laughing. I have come to tell you the truth. The real truth. What truth? Michael demanded. You have already been exposed as a liar. I have been exposed as a man who was willing to do whatever it took to win, William said. But I was not the only one lying. I was not the only one hiding secrets. Eleanor felt a cold dread wash over her. What are you talking about? William smiled, a cruel, triumphant smile. I am talking about your dear friend Peter. I am talking about the man who claims to want justice, but who has been hiding his own secrets. Peter has done nothing wrong, Eleanor said. He has been helping me. He has been helping himself, William said. He has been using you, Eleanor, just like he used everyone else. That is a lie, she said, but her voice wavered. Is it? William pulled a letter from his pocket, waving it in the air. Then explain this. This is a letter from Peter to a business associate, discussing a plan to acquire the Ashworth estate. He has been plotting to strip Michael of the estate and leave him in financial ruin. He wanted to make himself the true power in the family. Eleanor felt the blood drain from her face. That cannot be true. Peter would never. Never what? William demanded. Never lie to you? Never manipulate you? He has been playing you, Eleanor. He has been playing you all along. Michael stepped forward, grabbing the letter from William's hand. He read it quickly, his expression darkening. This is Peter's handwriting. This is his seal. Of course it is, William said. Because he has been planning this for months. He wanted to destroy your relationship so that you would be vulnerable. And when you were vulnerable, he could step in and take everything from you. Eleanor shook her head, refusing to believe it. Peter would not do that. He has been helping me. He has been lying to you, William interrupted, just like he lied to everyone else. He is not the hero you think he is. He is a man driven by ambition and greed. Michael looked at Eleanor, his eyes full of doubt. Eleanor, is this true? Did Peter confess anything about his plans? No, she said, though she suddenly was not sure. He told me he was banished because of William. He told me he had come back to help me. He never mentioned his plans to destroy the Ashworth estate, William said triumphantly. Because he knew you would never agree to help him if you knew the truth. He used your desperation to his advantage. Eleanor felt her world collapsing around her. Had Peter been lying to her all along? Had he been using her as a pawn in his own schemes? We need to confront him, Michael said, his voice hard. We need to hear the truth from his own lips. He is already here, William said, gesturing toward the door. He arrived just moments ago. He is waiting in the entrance hall. Eleanor felt her heart sink. Peter had said he would be nearby, but he had not mentioned that he would be at Ashworth House. Was William telling the truth? Had Peter been lying to her all along? Peter Thorne was indeed waiting in the entrance hall. He looked calm, composed, as if he had nothing to hide. But Eleanor could see the tension in his shoulders, the worry in his eyes. Peter, she said, her voice shaking, William says you have been lying to me. He says you have been planning to destroy the Ashworth estate and leave Michael in financial ruin. Peter's expression did not change. William says a lot of things, he said calmly. Most of them are lies. Then explain this, Michael said, holding up the letter. Explain why you wrote this letter. Explain why you are planning to strip me of the estate. Peter studied the letter, his face carefully blank. I wrote that letter months ago, he said. Before any of this happened, I was considering acquiring the estate as a way to force financial leverage. I was angry, bitter, and resentful, but I abandoned the plan when I learned what William was doing. A convenient explanation, William scoffed. But I do not believe you. I do not care what you believe, Peter said coldly. I care about the truth, and the truth is that I never intended to hurt Eleanor. I never intended to hurt Michael. I only wanted to expose you for the snake you are. Then why did you not tell Eleanor about the letter? Michael demanded. Why did you not tell her about your plans? Because they were no longer relevant, Peter said. I had abandoned the plan. There was no reason to bring it up. Eleanor watched the exchange, her heart torn. She wanted to believe Peter, but she could not shake the doubt that William had planted in her mind. What if Peter had been using her all along? What if everything he had told her was a lie? Peter, she said carefully, I need you to tell me the truth. Did you ever intend to destroy the Ashworth estate? Peter met her eyes. I considered it, he admitted. Months ago, when I was angry and bitter about the way I had been treated by my family. But I realized it was wrong. I realized it would only make things worse. I abandoned the plan before I ever put it into action. And you never thought to mention this to me? Eleanor asked, her voice wavering. I did not want to burden you with it, Peter said. I did not want you to think I was like William. I only wanted to help you. Eleanor looked at Michael, searching for answers. He looked as torn as she felt, his expression a mixture of anger and confusion. This is all very dramatic, William said, interrupting. But it does not change the fact that Peter has been lying to you. He has been using you. And now you know the truth. Get out, Michael said, his voice cold. Get out of my house, William, and do not come back. William smiled, a smug, triumphant smile. Gladly. But remember, brother, you can never truly trust anyone. Not her, not Peter, not even yourself. And then he was gone, leaving chaos in his wake. The aftermath of William's revelation was devastating. Eleanor could not stop thinking about Peter's letter, about the plans he had made, about the possibility that everything he had told her had been a lie. She wanted to believe him, but the doubt was still there, festering in her mind. Michael was no better. He was angry, hurt, betrayed. He had finally started to trust Eleanor again, and now Peter had shattered that trust. I need time, Michael said finally. I need to think. Eleanor nodded, though her heart was breaking. I understand. I will call on you when I am ready, he said. I promise. But she did not believe him, and she was not sure she ever would. The days that followed were the darkest of Eleanor's life. She had thought nothing could be worse than the day Michael accused her of betrayal. But this was worse, because now she had been betrayed by someone she trusted. Peter had lied to her. Peter had used her. Peter had taken advantage of her desperation and her pain. She could not bear to see him, could not bear to speak to him. She avoided his letters, avoided his visits, avoided any mention of his name. Her father was worried about her. Her siblings were worried about her. But no one could help her. She was alone. Truly alone. Peter Thorne was a man destroyed by his own past. He had tried to do the right thing. He had tried to expose his brother's lies and protect Eleanor from further harm. But his past had caught up with him, and now everything he had worked for was crumbling around him. He had been honest about one thing. He had abandoned the plan to destroy the Ashworth estate. He had realized it was wrong, had realized it would only make him as bad as William. But he had not been honest about everything. He had not told Eleanor that he remembered her from years earlier, at a country house party, before she had ever met Michael. He had watched her across the room, had noticed her kindness, her gentle smile, the way she had helped an elderly woman who had dropped her shawl. He had not told Eleanor that he had never forgotten her. He had not told Eleanor that he was falling in love with her. It had happened slowly, over the weeks they had spent together. He had seen her strength, her courage, her determination. He had seen the way she refused to give up, even when everything seemed hopeless. And he had fallen for her. But he could not tell her. She was in love with Michael. She had always been in love with Michael, and Peter was nothing more than a friend, an ally, a tool she had used to achieve her goals. He had accepted that. He had accepted that he would never be anything more than a friend. But now, watching her avoid him, watching her look at him with suspicion and doubt, he realized he had lost even that. He had lost everything. And it was his own fault. Eleanor received a letter 3 days later. It was from Peter. She almost threw it away without reading it. But something made her open it, made her scan the contents quickly. Dear Eleanor, I know you do not want to see me. I know you do not want to hear from me. But I need to tell you the truth, the whole truth, before it is too late. I lied to you. Not about William, not about the plan to trap him, but about my reasons for helping you. I did not come back to England solely out of a sense of justice. I came back because I had heard about the scandal, and I wanted to protect you. I had seen you once, at a country house party years ago. I had watched you from across the room, and felt something I had never felt before. You were kind. You were gentle. You had a smile that seemed to light up the entire room. I did not know you, but I never forgot you. I knew you were the kind of woman I could love. I knew you were the kind of woman worth fighting for. But you had no idea who I was. You did not know I existed. And when I saw the way Michael looked at you, when I saw the way you looked at him, I knew I had no chance. You were his. You would always be his. So I decided to help you anyway. I decided to put my feelings aside and do whatever I could to make you happy. Even if it meant watching you fall in love with someone else. Even if it meant breaking my own heart. William was right about one thing. I did plan to destroy the Ashworth estate. I planned to take everything from Michael and leave him with nothing. It was a foolish, selfish plan, born of years of resentment and hurt. But I abandoned it the moment I saw you again. I abandoned it because I realized there was something more important than revenge. That something was you. I love you, Eleanor. I have loved you since the first moment I saw you. And I will always love you, even if you never speak to me again. Yours in truth, Peter. Eleanor read the letter 3 times, her hands trembling. Peter remembered her. Peter had loved her all along, and she had been too blind to see it. She found him at the inn in Thorne, the same inn where they had first met. He was sitting in the private parlour, staring into the fire. He looked up when she entered, his eyes full of pain and hope. Eleanor, he said, his voice barely a whisper. I did not think you would come. I almost did not, she admitted, sitting across from him. But I had to see you. I had to hear the truth from your own lips. Peter nodded slowly. Then you heard it. I love you. I have always loved you. But why? Eleanor asked. Why did you not tell me? Because you were in love with Michael, Peter said, and I did not want to make things more complicated than they already were. Eleanor was silent for a long moment. She had been so focused on Michael, so determined to win back his love, that she had not seen the man who had been standing beside her all along. Peter, she said carefully, I do not know what to say. Say nothing, Peter said. I did not tell you because I expected anything in return. I told you because I wanted you to know the truth. I wanted you to understand why I did what I did. I do understand, Eleanor said. I understand that you have been nothing but kind to me, even when it hurt you. I understand that you put my happiness above your own. Peter smiled ruefully. That is what love does, is it not? It makes you do foolish things. I am not sure it is foolish, Eleanor said. I am not sure it is foolish at all. Peter looked at her, a flicker of hope in his eyes. What are you saying? I am saying that I do not know what the future holds, Eleanor said honestly. I am saying that I have been so focused on Michael that I have not thought about anyone else, but I am also saying that I would like to get to know you better. Without the drama. Without the lies. Just us. Peter's smile was radiant. I would like that, he said. I would like that very much. The news of Eleanor's decision spread quickly through the Godwin household. Her father was surprised but supportive. He had always liked Peter, had always thought he was a good man. Michael, on the other hand, was devastated. He had thought Eleanor would wait for him. He had thought they could find their way back to each other, and now she was choosing his brother. Please, he said, when Eleanor came to see him, please do not do this. I know I have wronged you. I know I have not been the man you deserve. But I can change. I will change. Just give me a chance. Eleanor looked at him, her heart breaking for the man she had once loved. I cannot, Michael. You hurt me in a way I cannot forget. You accused me of betrayal without proof. You threw me out of your home without giving me a chance to defend myself. I cannot trust you again. I know, Michael said, his voice cracking. I know I was wrong. I will spend the rest of my life regretting it. The rest of your life is a long time, Eleanor said softly. But I cannot give you what you want. I cannot give you my heart. It belongs to someone else now. To Peter, Michael said, his voice bitter. My own brother. Yes, Eleanor said. To Peter. He was there for me when no one else was. He helped me when I had no one else to turn to, and he has been honest with me, even when it hurt. Michael nodded slowly. I understand. I do not like it, but I understand. Eleanor reached out, taking his hand. I will always care for you, Michael. I will always be grateful for the time we shared. But we are not meant to be together. We were never meant to be together. Michael looked at her, his eyes full of pain. I know, I know. The wedding was a modest affair, held at the Godwin estate in Kent. Eleanor had wanted something simple, something intimate. She had already had enough drama to last a lifetime. She wanted peace. She wanted happiness. She wanted to start her life with Peter, without any more complications. Peter had agreed to everything she wanted. He had been quiet, thoughtful, supportive. He had given her space to make her own decisions, and he had never pushed her for more than she was willing to give. I love you, he had told her on the night of their engagement. I will always love you, and I will spend the rest of my life proving it to you. Eleanor had believed him. She still believed him. The day of the wedding was cold and grey. Eleanor stood in her father's study, looking out the window at the grey November sky. She was wearing a simple white gown, her dark hair pinned with flowers, her mother's pearls around her neck. She felt calm. She felt at peace. Are you ready? Her father asked from the doorway. Eleanor turned, smiling. I am ready. Her father walked toward her, his eyes filled with emotion. I am so proud of you, he said. You have been through so much, and you have come through it stronger than ever. I could not have done it without Peter, Eleanor said. He has been my rock, my strength. He is a good man, Lord Godwin said. I always knew he was a good man. Eleanor nodded, her heart full. I know. I always knew too. The ceremony was beautiful. Eleanor walked down the aisle, her father on her arm, her heart beating with joy. She saw Peter at the altar, his eyes shining with love, and she knew she had made the right choice. He was the one. He had become the one. I do, she said when the time came, her voice strong and clear. I do, Peter repeated, his voice choked with emotion. And then they were married. The reception was held in the Godwin family's modest ballroom. It was a small affair, with only close friends and family in attendance. But it was joyous, filled with laughter and celebration. Eleanor danced with her husband, her heart full of love. Michael, who had come to offer his congratulations, watched from the edge of the room. His expression was sad but accepting. He had finally come to terms with the fact that Eleanor was gone. She was his brother's wife now. "Congratulations," he said when Peter approached him. "You are a lucky man." Peter nodded. "I know. I do not deserve her, but I will spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of her." Michael smiled, a bitter, broken smile. "I know you will. You are a good man, Peter. You always were." Peter reached out, clapping his brother on the shoulder. "Thank you, for coming, for being here." "I would not have missed it," Michael said. "Despite everything, you are still my brother." Peter nodded, his eyes glistening with emotion. "And you are still mine." But Michael had not yet fully accepted his loss. Later that evening, he found Eleanor alone in the garden, and he tried one more time. "Eleanor," he said, his voice raw, "I need you to understand something. When I accused you, I was wrong, but I was also afraid. I was afraid of losing you, and that fear made me believe the worst. I should have trusted you. I should have believed in you. Instead, I believed in my brother's lies." Eleanor turned to face him. "Michael, I know you are sorry. I know you regret what happened. But that does not change what you did." "I know," he said. "I know I hurt you. I know I broke your trust. But I want you to know that I understand why you chose Peter. He was there for you when I was not. He helped you when I abandoned you. He earned your trust when I destroyed mine." Eleanor felt tears prick at her eyes. "I will always care about you, Michael. But I have moved on. I have found my happiness. I hope you can find yours." Michael nodded slowly. "I will try. I will try to be the man I should have been. I will try to earn back your trust, even if only as a friend." "That is all I can ask," Eleanor said softly. And Michael walked away, finally accepting that he had lost her forever. A year later, Eleanor looked out the window of her new home, a modest estate in the Scottish Highlands that Peter had inherited from a distant relative. It was spring, and the hills were covered in green. The sky was blue, the sun was warm, and the world was full of new life. Eleanor was happy. She had never expected to be happy again after Michael had broken her heart. But Peter had shown her a different kind of love, a gentler, more patient love, a love that had grown slowly, steadily, until it had become the bedrock of her life. Peter had not been her first love. Michael had been that. But Peter had become her true love, the love built on trust, respect, and shared experiences. "Darling," Peter said from behind her, coming to wrap his arms around her. "What are you thinking about?" "I am thinking about how lucky I am," Eleanor said, turning to face him. "How lucky I am to have found you, to have loved you, to have married you." Peter smiled, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "I am the lucky one. You saved me, Eleanor. You saved me from myself." "I did no such thing," she said, laughing. "You saved yourself. I just helped you see the way." Peter pulled her close, holding her tightly. "We saved each other," he said. "That is what matters." Eleanor nodded, her heart full. "Yes, that is what matters." William Thorne had not been heard from since the day of the confrontation at Ashworth House. He had disappeared, fleeing England, and leaving behind a trail of debts and broken promises. When Michael had exposed his crimes to the family, William's creditors had come after him with a vengeance. He had lost everything, and he had fled the country rather than face the consequences. There were rumors that he had gone to America, that he had started a new life there. But Eleanor did not care. William was no longer a part of her life. He was no longer a part of Peter's life. He was a ghost, a memory, a shadow that had finally faded. One evening, as Eleanor and Peter sat by the fire in their small estate, Eleanor asked the question that had been on her mind for months. "Peter," she said carefully, "did you ever truly intend to destroy the Ashworth estate?" Peter was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Yes," he admitted. "I did. I was angry, bitter, resentful. I wanted to take everything from Michael and leave him with nothing. I wanted to make him pay for what he had done to me." "What changed?" Peter looked at her, his eyes full of love. "You changed. When I saw you again. When I realized what kind of woman you were, I knew I could not go through with it. I could not become the kind of man who would hurt someone else for revenge. I wanted to be better. I wanted to be worthy of you." Eleanor felt tears prick at her eyes. "I do not deserve you," she said. "You deserve everything," Peter said, "and I will spend the rest of my life making sure you have it." The years passed quickly. Eleanor and Peter built a life together, a life filled with love, laughter, and quiet happiness. They had children, 3 beautiful children who filled their home with joy. They had friends, neighbors, a community that welcomed them with open arms. And they had each other. Michael, who had never married, visited them often. He had made peace with his past, had accepted the decisions Eleanor had made. He was a loving uncle to their children, a loyal friend to their family, and they were all happy. Eleanor died in her sleep at the age of 72, surrounded by her family. Peter held her hand as she slipped away, his heart breaking but his soul at peace. She had lived a good life, a full life. She had loved and been loved, and she had found the happiness she had always deserved. "Thank you," Peter whispered to her, as she took her last breath. "Thank you for loving me. Thank you for choosing me." He felt her hand squeeze his, just once, and then she was gone. Peter lived for another 5 years, long enough to see his grandchildren grow up. He spent his days tending to the garden Eleanor had loved, sitting on the porch she had admired, telling stories about the woman who had changed his life. "Your grandmother was the strongest person I ever knew," he told his grandchildren. "She faced betrayal, heartbreak, and doubt, and she never gave up. She never stopped believing that things could get better." "Did she ever give up?" one of the children asked. Peter smiled. "No," he said. "She never gave up, and that is why she won." Eleanor had wanted to be remembered as a woman of strength, courage, and love, and she was. Her story was told for generations, passed down from mother to daughter, father to son. It was a story of betrayal, forgiveness, and the enduring power of love. But most of all, it was a story of hope. Because even in the darkest moments, Eleanor had never given up. And that was the greatest victory of all. If you enjoyed this story of love, betrayal, and second chances, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. We release new historical romance stories every week, each one more dramatic and heart-wrenching than the last. And tell us in the comments, did Eleanor make the right choice? Should she have forgiven Michael, or was Peter always the better man? We read every single comment, and your feedback helps us craft even better stories. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.